That's 2 dungeons down, and only 2 more to go. We're halfway there of us being at the end of the game. Math can be weird sometimes. Hey there, people of the internet world, it's Kibatu, and welcome back to Let's Play Valkyrie Profile. So, the Palace of the Dragon is done and over with. Yay, good times. And thus we are heading off into our next dungeon. But before we do that, I forgot to show off the next new item that we got from the thing, which not just the, what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? The artifacts, which is the Scroll of the Golem, the Hourglass of the Gods. Not bad. And the Dragoon Faith, which, if you look at it, yeah, it's a pretty nice helmet, actually, comparatively to the Seraphic Garland. Yeah, it's a pretty nice one, and it can be worn by everybody as well, so yeah, that's nice. And in fact, I want to give this to... I want to give this to Arngrim. Arngrim can make a lot more use out of it than anything else. And then I'll give the Valiant Helmet to him so that he can wear that with pride. And I think everyone else is good. Yep. I also gave the Wand of Apocalypse, I think that's another one we got lately, to Garland because it actually does give great magic as well. So that's nice. Plus it's a little stronger than the Ether Scepter. So now we don't even need the Ether Scepters. Awesome. Now, before I move on, there is one more thing to show off, and that is the Great Spear Dinosaur, which is something that we got from as an extra for the thing. Now, Crimson Edge by itself is a pretty strong item with fire plus 90% and 3 attacks with 1200 damage. But then you look at this weapon here. With only 1 attack, but my gosh, 3,000 damage. I have to use this. I have to use this because it is just too good a weapon. It is just too good. As for everyone else, yeah, everyone else seems perfectly fine. Yeah, everyone else is perfectly fine here, so that's good. Okay, so enough wasting time, whatever. Let's go ahead and see what our next dungeon is. Now, I really hope this is the Cave of Oblivion, because I want to do something different for this whole Let's Play itself. I want to actually talk a little more about what this connects to as far as Norse mythology goes. Yes, thank you. Awesome. And the best way to do this is to just waste time in the Cave of Oblivion so that I can do that, rather than just go through the newest dungeon or the last dungeon of the game and, you know, do that. You know, just to waste time there. But with Last Cave of Oblivion, I figured it'd be a good spot to just talk about something in particular so that I can just waste time doing this and just finish this off. So, yeah, I figured it'd be a good spot to do that, because otherwise it's just not. So, what kind of mythology are we even talking about here? Well, I brought it down to, like, two parts. Well, not 2 parts, but like 3 parts in particular, because I want to talk about just a little bit about the mythology and the differences between the actual mythology and the game mythology itself, because the game is trying to convey its own mythology, as much as it doesn't seem to look like it as well. It's trying to copy out something else, but there are some specific key differences in between these 2 mythologies. So I just want to poke at that and, you know, just to compare the 2 and just see how, you know, how they are in comparison to each other. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So with that said, let's go ahead into the Cave of Oblivion and just get started then. Now, of course, the first thing I want to talk about is about the Valkyrie itself, because Lenneth isn't actually the only Valkyrie in this game. There are several Valkyries in Norse mythology. In fact, Valkyrie here, Lenneth in the mythology is actually the most famous Valkyrie, as well as Freya. And Freya actually is is actually arguably the very first Valkyrie ever. Because as it goes, Valkyries are beautiful women that take themselves into the world with swords, feathered cloak or helmet, and armor. Specifically those two. But their task... Oh, wow. Stab you in the face! But yes, they were tasked, actually... Wait, what?
No mercy.
Orbituous... Wow, really? Wow, this is different. This is a very different thing. Oh, I don't have Sap Guard, do I? No, I do. Okay, okay. I'm smart enough to give myself Sap Guard. Thank you. Okay, now... Yeah, I want to Sap Guard him now.
Sap Guard.
There we go. Okay, so there's that. Now this dragon here, man, I have never seen this dragon before. This is the first time I'm seeing him. I don't think I actually ran into this dragon at all in the actual dungeons. This is... interesting. Well, let's see if we can beat him up. Oh yeah, he's a wimp. He is a big fat wimp. Okay, I was a bit worried about that because I have never seen that dragon before.
Fighting monsters instead of summoning.
Okay, yeah, they don't give that much XP. Okay, so this is just this is like not dungeon, but chapter 3 of 4 monsters here. Let's confirm that with this monster here.
Come to me, Dark Warriors. Battle awaits us.
These foes are more than they appear.
Wow, I'm surprised. These are like mini bosses, not just bosses, but they're like mini bosses. Weird, but interesting. All right, so this harpy here, I don't think it's anything special about it. So.
Prismatic missile.
All right, you know what?
I stake everything on this single blow. Finishing strike. Justice stream. You have no more reason to live.
Oh, this weapon is just fantastic. Just saying.
Fighting monsters instead of summoning. How ironic.
How ironic. Oh, I just now caught that. Awesome. Alright, so let's go ahead and just raise some level ups here. But yeah, Valkyries themselves, they are beings, they're beautiful women with armor, swords, and either feathered cloaks or a helmet. And they were charged with the task by Odin to scout through Midgard on their winged horses in groups usually, to find the bravest warriors that were slain in battle and become Einherjar, taking them to Valhalla so that they can actually do their job. By serving as Odin's messengers, they are born as humans and are returned as Valkyries after death, and they are granted immortality and are invulnerable as long as they obey the gods. According to the Viking Answer Lady, Valkyries have no documentation of ever fighting in battle or even wield a weapon. They are also known as demigoddesses of death, with the rumor that if you see a Valkyrie before you die, you will die. Simple as that. Simple as that. Simple. Yes, very simple. Their armor can also cause the Aurora Borealis when they ride far to the north, so that's why we see that. Neat. And they are also known as weavers, as they weave the face of man, either weaving victory or defeat, and to either blind the warrior with terror or release one from the same bonds. It is also said that the very first Valkyrie was Freya, and the most famous was Brynhild. Now, comparing this game to Norse mythology here, it's actually probably the most, I would say, hi guy, let me get out here. It is possibly the most accurate portrayal of a character in the Valkyrie profile, and as it should be, since it's all about Lenneth's Valkyrie. But the only differences I found, the one thing that is wrong, is that the three goddesses of fate, they are said to be Lenneth the oldest, and the two sisters, Hrist and Somaria. But it's actually the Norns that are named, that are the three goddesses of fate, and they are Urda, Verdani, and Skuld. And they are also said to appear at birth to determine the fate of that person. So it's actually really accurate in that regard, But there is just that one thing wrong, and that's really all there is to it. There's not much else to go along with it. So, you take what you get, I guess. It's actually really close to the thing, as close as you can actually get to it. So, that's nice.
We have nothing but to fight.
Holy crap, that guy has a freaking dragon for a minion. Wow. That's a big dragon too. That looks like it actually hurt. Wow, okay. So, Grey Bones here. I think I remember running into Grey Bones at Brahm's castle, actually. So, this guy should not be a problem. Maybe not. You know what?
I grow tired of you. Finishing strike.
There we go. Easy enough. Now, on top of the Valkyries, though, Lenneth here, it is mostly believed that she is actually based off the Valkyrie Brynhild, which she has her own story as well. So let's go over that as well. Brynhild is a Valkyrie who was punished by Odin for disobedience by being placed into a circle of fire, and was also, on some occasions, made into a mortal, and she was meant to sleep in that circle of fire on top of a mountain, no less, until a hero named Sigurd rode into the circles of flames, and as such, the Valkyrie and the human, or the being known as Sigurd, they both fell in love when they met for the first time, and as a token of their love, Sigurd gave to her a magic ring known as Advaranatu, as a token of his love. But because of many factors and many things that have happened throughout Sigurd's life, he had actually died, and at the funeral of this said of Sigurd, Brynhild actually took her own life in grief of this situation because she truly loved Sigurd. And ever since then, Sigurd and...
Without fail.
Without fail. I just caught that. But yes, it was with that Sigurd and Brynhild would actually live together after death. Which, yeah, that's pretty intense right there. Now, how does that compare to Lenneth here? Well, there's a couple of ways that it actually connects, but most of that we probably won't actually go into until the next the next few episodes. Not like right next episode, but a couple episodes later. So, there's that. But I can tell you that the similarities are this. Lenneth, if you were to get the sea ending, you would actually be put to sleep and, yeah, as punishment for disobedience by disobeying Odin. On top of that, you are put into the mortal world, and you actually turn mortal through the mortal world in towns and such by, doing that. You also can actually foretell the future, as Brynhild actually could tell by dreams and such, but Lenneth here kind of foretells it by, the spiritual concentration, where she tells in the future how and when somebody is going to die, as we could tell through the whole game. And there is one particular detail that does get it as well, but we won't be able to go over that until later. But there is one very important detail that we need to go over later. So, yeah, there's that. Now, with that said then, I think I want to go ahead and reveal what the last dungeon is. So, let's see what that last dungeon is. And while I'm doing this, I'll go ahead and just explain the last one. Which the last one I want to talk about is Freya. Freya was known as the topmost goddess of the Aesir, and before the war was the goddess of the Vanir. Who was also, as the goddess of Vanir, she was the goddess of love, beauty, witchcraft, war, death, amongst other things. And was married to a god named Ode. Which could be another form of name of Odin, but that's specifics. She also had a human lover named Otar, and her duty, actually, in Norse mythology, was to divide the Einherjar with Odin, to separate them between Od and Freya. Now, it is somewhat accurate. They actually get the accuracy of her details and such right, so that's one thing. But the details of splitting the heroes isn't necessarily clear, just splitting heroes between Odin and Freya and such. She does have a very close relationship with Odin in this game, taking orders and such for him. And if Od was another way of saying his name Odin, that would make sense. It would. It really would. And yeah, Freya's pretty close to the Norse mythology, but one funny thing I want to mention is Freya's sister, Frey, who in Norse mythology is a male god who was a god of the world in the Vanir. Was known as the world, a god of the world, but when traded to the Aesir, he would become the lord of the Aesir, and he was known as the god of the sun, rain, and peace. He was the brother to Freya, and supposedly is the rulers of the elves, whose home is Elfheim. But in the game, Frey is a female, and all she is a door attendant, and she's the sister of Freya. So I find that funny, actually. I find that very funny. But, specifics, details, you can't really go over them all, so whatever. If you do want to actually go through all the details, if you're really curious about what all the connections between Norse mythology and the game is, you can go ahead and look it up yourself. I'll be posting a link, actually, to where you can actually find out more about these details and such, because there are a lot of interesting details about this. The details I'm reading about are actually in a GameFAQs forum by a guy named Hexum. Hexum has done all the research for the connections between Norse mythology and the game, so I'll post a link where you can look it up. And honestly, a lot of characters in this do have Norse mythology, but they just don't have a lot of details. So, you take what you will, I guess. But that's specifics. But I am wasting enough of your time just explaining about Norse mythology or whatever, and I wasted enough time in this episode, so next time we travel into the last dungeon of the game before, well, the end of the game. Ragnarok happens. So, let's get a sneak peek. Celestial Castle. Witch's Castle sealed by the Battle Maiden. Oh, so this castle was actually sealed by Lenneth. Or maybe Hrist or Samaria. Interesting. According to legend, both the castle and the witch sunk to the bottom of the sea. If the castle had appeared in the sky, it can only mean that the witch has returned to this world. The witch, huh? I wonder which witch this witch is witching. I apologize for that. I apologize for that profusely. Oh gosh. But it is curious to see who this witch is and why they came back and all that good stuff. So we'll find out more about that next time, because this last dungeon, oh boy, I'll say this now, it is a very infamous dungeon and can be considered one of the most annoying dungeons in the game for particular reasons. We'll get into that once we start this dungeon. So, again, sorry for wasting your time like this, but if you guys are enjoying the idea of reading up Norse mythology, go ahead and just listen or whatever, but I'm not here to judge. But I figured it'd be nice to talk about it. So, So, with that said, this is Kibatu, and until we explore Celestial Castle, goodbye to you. Laters!